All right. All right. Hi, good morning. Sorry for the last minute schedule change. Um, but we had to change a whole bunch of other things, including Peachtree World News this week. So when your teacher's teaching, you don't teach when your teacher's teaching. So, and plus the entire Worldview production staff who was scheduled to teach to produce this class needs to produce the Peachtree World News. So we're on class 10. We'll have one more review next week of everything. So I thought before we actually got started that we could meditate again. So get yourself set up and ready for meditation. Buongiorno. All right. And if you're driving, Lena, don't meditate while you're driving, just listen. Okay. Don't close your eyes. All right. You seem to have settled down, most of you, still moving a little bit. Come to your breath. Soften your gaze or close your eyes. Notice the sensations of your breath as you exhale and as you inhale. And then begin counting your breath from 10 down to 1, beginning with the exhale and inhale as 10. Exhale, inhale 9. Now invite someone to join you in your meditation. Someone that you admire. Could be someone real. It could be someone who's passed on. Someone that you feel inspires you to be a better person. And then think about one thing about them that you really do admire. And then one of the things that they'd like to know about is your own practice. They want to know the efforts that you're making. And as you tell them about something, see if you can cultivate a bit of joy in it. Just don't say something, say it with a positive emotion behind it. Because we're on the path of perfecting ourselves, we also make mistakes. We do things that block our way. So let them know one thing you've done recently that you're not very proud of. Another difficult thing is to notice the kindness of other people as well. So recall something that you noticed that somebody did kind for somebody else, and then tell them about it. And again, bring up a feeling, some positive emotion behind it. It's not just a blank story. Feel good about it as you're telling them something you noticed about other people and their goodness. And then ask this person to keep teaching you. To teach you all in all the ways that you need, not necessarily in the ways that you want. And then ask them to stay close. And you see them happily agree. And the first thing they do to stay close is they remind you where they are and where they come from. And so they raise up in front of you and shrink down really small. Turn in the same direction you're facing and come to rest at the top of your head, small, no bigger than a thumbnail. You can feel their warmth. You can feel the prana in their body. And they enter into the tip of your head, melting into a red light. And with sensations of warm honey, that light moves down into your heart. And now I would like to invite you to see yourself sitting with a group of people. Maybe you're at a yoga studio. Maybe you're at a cafe. Maybe you're in a football stadium. Find a place that's comfortable for you, where you can see the people around you. And then begin to feel your body. Feel your whole body to the edge of your skin. And then ask yourself, what problems does this body and mind have? What physical problems does this body have? What emotional challenges? What mental challenges do you have? Then look around to the other people. What challenges do they have? What physical problems? What mental problems? What emotional challenges do they have? And as bodhisattvas, we are committing ourselves to helping all beings. We're committing ourselves to helping these people with their problems. Which ones do we choose first? And what about our own? If we're focusing on other people, how are we taking care of our own challenges? And do we even take care of ourselves? Do we take care of ourselves enough? And what about this separation between the edge of my body and the edge of everybody else's body? And for many of us, the challenge of being a bodhisattva is that it can feel overwhelming. How do I help all of these people who are even right here? Each one of them has challenges, sufferings, pain. And then not to mention my own. How many problems that you have? Maybe you're not sleeping enough, you're not eating well enough. Do you ignore in yourself, or you say, I don't have enough time even for me? How can I care for other people? And Master Shantideva has an advice for us. So bring your awareness to the edge of your own skin, the edge of where you think you end. And they begin to expand the edges of your skin beyond your physical body. Until that skin encompasses all the people that are in the space that you've visualized. So there's a you that becomes bigger. Your skin becomes larger. It encompasses, envelops all the people around you, including yourself who's on the inside. Now your sense of you is bigger. And you look inside and you see all the people, including the old you, who has these little problems. See yourself bigger and able to hold everybody inside. Then dissolve the entire meditation, the visualization into your heart. And we'll dedicate all the seeds we planted. Give them away to those who need them. You protect your seeds by giving them to others, by offering them out. May all of this serve as a cause to see all that pain and suffering vanish. And then come back to your breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Turn on your camera so I can see your faces. All right. So in this class, is a bunch. We're going to be getting into some personal advices that Shantideva starts giving us. Of how do we work with the six perfections, but more importantly, how do we, some practical advices on how do we make our seeds more powerful? That's how I kind of look at this class. Like things that you can do because one of the things that oftentimes people have challenges with, and I have this challenge too, is that you don't know which good deed to do. Like there's so many good things you could be doing. But which one do you choose? You know, and I think this is it's a kind of a big question, not only for, you know, when you're choosing virtue, but also, you know, the question of how do you take care of yourself too? You know, we spend so much time thinking about how do I take care of others? Oh, how do you take care of your own sickness? How do you take care of this? How do you take care of that? And when you have a challenge, we say, okay, go look for someone else who has the same problem. Right? Who else has that problem? Who else has that thing going on? And you go help them. Right? And I like to call it kind of like to call it the bodhisattva's affliction. Like when you're learning to be a bodhisattva, we oftentimes overdo it. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can see 6 people who I know just in the camera, 7, excuse me. You know, let me start looking through the list of names here of people who work too hard. The bodhisattva's affliction. right? I know. And I mean this not meanly, right? But there's this thing that happens where we want to, we understand the urgency, right? We don't have time. Your body doesn't have time. You know this. The older you get, the more aware you become of how impermanent this body is, how impermanent relationships are, how impermanent everything is, right? So then we go, oh, well, I got to plant some good seeds. Yay, let's go. Right? And then we work really hard, right? Got to plant some seeds, right? And that's true, right? And then we work in service. We serve our teachers, we serve others, we do all those things. But then there's this place of like, well, there has to be, at a certain point, your body gets tired, right? At a certain point, you burn out. I call it bodhisattva burnout. That would be a good class, right? I'm such a good person, but I'm so sick because I'm taking care of too many people, right? The it's been real for me. Like, and this is why I'm bringing it up. It's like, now that I'm transitioning into new jobs, and it's like, oh my God, I have all this free time. What am I going to do with it? Got to go plant some seeds. I'm watching it, lots of you laugh because you're all like this, you know, and that's not a problem. Okay, first of all, it's not a problem. But like, how hard do you work yourself in the service of others? Because this is your vehicle, right? This is your vehicle. This body is the vehicle to actually being able to serve people. And I mean that on a highly karmic level, where you transform the samsaric parts of you, your body and mind, into a body and mind that is not samsaric, where you can really help people. Like Shantideva at one point later in the class gives us advice of not harming our body, because this is the vehicle. Like, I know I told you guys, and I know I told you all the story beginning of the class of the motorcycle accident I had in Malaysia. And the first thought I had after I realized I didn't die and I didn't break all my bones was like, oh, this is why Geshe Michael told me not to rent a motorcycle. Like, because it's dangerous. Like, doing things that put your body in danger. Yesterday, when we left, we had some meetings at Peachtree Cafe. This is the day, our days off, Geshe calls us to Peachtree Cafe to talk about projects. Like, right? It's like our version of this, of our ACI spaghetti meeting. We have a meeting once a week. We call it the spaghetti meeting, where we just throw spaghetti on the wall, right? And we're like, well, what ideas stick? Well, we do it on Sundays, in worldview. And so we had kind of a spaghetti meeting yesterday. And afterwards, Geshe Michael was like, I'm gonna go take a nap. He gets in his car and he's driving away. And Rob Haggerty, I don't know if you all know him. Rob Haggerty goes, do you ever notice that Geshe Michael drives like an old woman? I was like, Rob, that is so offensive. And Jigme was there. Jigme is like 70 some years old. And she's like, Rob, that's so offensive. I don't drive like Geshe Michael. I don't drive like an old woman, but we watched him drive, right? he drives so slow. It's like he's like at the wheel. He's like not moving fast, not in a rush, right? Like he turns and it's like, what are you doing, Geshe Michael? Right? Everyone can imagine, right? The image, right? And I was like, guys, no, he's just taking care of his body. He's taking care of everybody else. Like I was late for a meeting. I was hanging out with a friend and I wasn't looking at the time. And all of a sudden I was like, shit, I gotta go. I'm like, bye. And I just got up and left. Get in the car, I drive too fast to get there on time. And perfectly as Geshe Michael always does, I get there and he was having a meeting with somebody else and he was like, oh, just go sit over there. And I had to wait for a half an hour. So driving fast is not the cause to get to something on time. All right. Right. And then afterwards, of course, he's like driving like an old person, like super slow. He lives 5 minutes away from Peachtree Cafe. Like, what are you doing? You know? So, but he's taking care of his body. Like, he gets mad at people when they do things like bungee jumping or skydiving or, anything that puts the body in danger. Like, he doesn't even drive on the highway to come to the college. He takes back roads where it's safer. You know, Lamas do these things. They do all these weird things, right, to teach. So, but how are you taking care of yourself? Right? How are you, are you eating well? Are you sleeping well? I realized, with 5 years of working at the hotel, that it was just like the anxiety of my body, like I wasn't taking care of me, and eventually I got sick and all this other stuff. And it's like, the doctors are like, there's nothing wrong with you, Tim. I'm like, I feel terrible. Nothing's working. And they're like, well, maybe you should sleep more. Maybe you should not be so anxious. I'm not an anxious person. I'm a Buddhist. Yeah, right. That's a quote of the day. I'm not an anxious person. I'm a Buddhist, right? Don't justify your negative afflictions by being a bodhisattva. Okay. Don't transfer one affliction to another and be like, well, I'm a bodhisattva now. Let's go plant seeds. We got to plant the best seeds possible. Ah, right? You all know this. Because getting stuff done, first of all, doesn't come from doing things. Get it? The seed to get things done doesn't come from doing the thing. Doing the stuffs does not create the result of the stuffs. Right? And eventually you'll realize that. In certain areas of your life will be beautifully karmic, and everything you do works karmically well. And then there'll be areas of your life that are so go ram self-existent that everything you try to do becomes impossibly not karmic. You can't even think about it. You're even pretending that you're thinking about it when you're not. That's the best part about it. By the way, I'm getting a brand new door today. It's an extra half a meter long. It's a meter and a 3/4 of a meter longer. And then my new floor is going in. Then I can invite people over to my house. Right? It's taken me 2 years to solve this problem. All right. So when you come to Sedona, I can actually have people over now. But don't let your Buddhism become a affliction. Don't let your Buddhism justify your bad behavior. Okay. You want to go outside? So, and this is what Shantideva is telling us, even in that meditation is if you can, for me, that meditation changed the way that I take care of myself because I feel like sometimes it's impossible to take care of me when I need to take care of all these people. I have 30 people at the hotel I have to feed. There's 10 more translators that need the money from the hotel. We have all the ACI people to feed, right? There's 50 people that I'm responsible for their payroll, right? So how can I eat breakfast and take my time and eat a really good breakfast when I got to run out and make sure all these people are fed? Oh God, I got to stay up late, because I got to do this thing, then this thing and this thing, because if that thing's not done, then this thing won't get done. And those things aren't even freaking related to each other, Tim, but you're not thinking that way. Getting the thing done and making the thing successful has nothing to do with doing the thing. We know this, but do we know this? Do we know this? So speaking of afflictions, hold on a second. So my cat was having an affliction. She's upset because I didn't clean the litter box this weekend and she has to go outside because she's go to the bathroom and she's upset. Why didn't I clean the litter box this weekend? Because I had too many other things to take care of. Get it? So Shantideva gives us all of these advices on what we can do to make the seeds more powerful. And this is really where it comes down to is, can you figure out the practices that are the most powerful? So when you say to yourself, gotta plant good seeds, right? That you're planting the best seeds you can, while you're taking care of yourself and making sure that, oh, okay, by the way, taking care of yourself and the ability to take care of yourself and the good result or bad result that comes from that, where does that come from? Right? Then you go, well, shit, now I have to go take care of other people better in order for me to have good health. Why is Geshe Michael giving me all these projects that revolve around health insurance and making sure people are taken care of? Oh, Tim, can you make this doctor's appointment? Can you do this? And I'm like, you're giving me these tasks. Oh, so when you go to the doctor and you're having problems, you don't actually have problems, Tim. The doctor works. Oh, so how do I take care of myself, Geshe Michael, if I have to take care of all of these people? Then I'm not taking care of myself because it looks like I need to sleep and eat and go to the doctor and do all these things. You see, it becomes this kind of logical loop that sounds impossible. Somewhere in there is the wisdom. Okay. Somewhere in there, you'll find the wisdom because none of those things are coming from their own side anyway. So Shantideva gives us some advices on how to choose the best things you can do with the capacity that you have. And that's the most important thing. Don't be a superhero. I'm going to rephrase this. You know, in the Matrix, when Neo's first learning how to understand everything, and Morpheus is like, now you have to free your mind, and he has to jump from one building to the other. Okay. First time he's plugged into the Matrix and recognizes he's in the Matrix. And everyone's like, he's the one, he's the one. And they're like, everyone follows the first time, right? And he's like, okay, free your mind, free your mind. And he runs and he jumps to, over the, to the next building. And then he, can't do it and he falls to the ground, right? Don't be a bodhisattva who does that. Okay. Yes, you can learn how to jump between buildings. You can learn to jump between worlds. That's a possible thing. No problem. Eventually, you can become a bodhisattva who can give away an eyeball. Or you can be like Sri Sena and cut off your legs and give your legs to some demon, right? You can do all of those things. It's possible. But is that within your capacity? If you're honest with yourself, could you take an eyeball out right now and be okay with it? Could you cut off your legs and give them to somebody else who needs them and then be fine with it? Look, I can barely give myself, I take these vitamin shots. Like these little, I have to put them in my butt. Well, my upper thigh. Okay. Right. Just to put the needle in my, upper buttocks area. Like, what? Like, I can't even do that. I have to breathe. I'm like, okay, fine. Because I know they're good for me, but it's weird, right? I can't give an eyeball if I can't put a injection into me, right? A vitamin injection, right? So the whole point is understand what your capacity is today. And then don't judge your capacity and don't be upset if you don't have high capacity. You see, I got to be a good bodhisattva. I have to do all these things. I have to work my ass off. I have to do this. I have to do that. Well, guess what? Is that being a bodhisattva? If you're hurting yourself. 2. Okay. So then we need to learn how to do things more powerfully. Because if we can't do things more powerfully, we can't change the karmas fast enough to be able to change ourselves fast enough in this lifetime to actually be able to help people. Like truly help, ultimately help, something like that. Okay, so what are some of the things that we can do, if we're talking about the perfection of giving, is if you have a virtue that you like to do and you do it constantly and you're good at it. I produced ACI events for 10 years, still kind of producing them, but not in the same way. I was good at it. I liked it, right? Served my teacher, right? Doing virtuous activities over and over again. That's one way, making it a habit. Then you upgrade your motivation. Like you upgrade, what are you doing with this? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you uploading videos to the ACI platform? Why are you translating all these classes live, Persis? Right? Why are you recording all these things? Julia, Barbara, right? Yasheng, I didn't know you recorded. Nice, right? So why are you doing all these things? What's the motivation behind it? Right? The motivation of recording these classes means that people for generations will have access to them. right? Maybe people in 50 years, 100 years, 200 years will be listening to this blah, blah that I'm giving today, right? These advices on how to be a bodhisattva, right? But you're keeping it fresh for next generations, right? So your virtue, like your motivation is much larger. Your motivation is, wow, in 500 years, people will watch this class again. And it's going to be like, everyone's going to be thinking like this. Everyone's going to be thinking like a bodhisattva. Thank you, Elena. I like to diminish things sometimes as jokes. I'm really good at self-deprecating humor too. So you upgrade your motivations, right? You know, and then he says, this is an interesting thing he says, is doing it with strong corrective thoughts, meaning like, for example, not to do things with an idea that you're going to get a return for them. Oh, but Tim, you said in order for you to, you know, have good health, you need to take care of the health of others. I did say that. But when you're helping that person, you're not thinking, I can't wait till like I can't wait till my MRI comes back and it doesn't have any indication of cancer. Right? I'm going to go help this old person and I'm going to think about how my knee will feel better tomorrow because I helped them today. Like, that's not how it works. I mean, it does kind of work that way, but that's not the motivation in your mind. Because if you think larger, bigger picture, you want to think bigger picture where you don't have knees that hurt. You don't have cancers in your brain, right? Where people just get sick and die. Like, that's the world you want to create. Do you want to fix your knees or do you want to fix all of your body? Do you want your whole body to transform it into something else? Right? Like, it's nice not to have painful knees. It really is. It changes your meditation, promise. Which is a nice result along the way. But like your motivation, like, shouldn't be to get something. I'm going to create a nursing home in my 2 apartments that I have over there, Venerable Phil and Christina Cassica. They don't need a nursing home. They're both quite active, right? So I can have a partner. That's what I'm doing. I'm building my built-in nursing home is right here. I can just go visit the old lonely people that are right next door. That's why they live there, right? If I think that way, then I'm thinking wrong. I'm thinking wrongly. Okay. Will it create that? Maybe. But that's not the point. Yes. Someone privately messaged and says, I think Christina has more of a social life than the rest of us. She does. She disappears on the weekends. I have no idea what she does, but she's not at home. And I'm jealous, right? So you see, don't do things with the desire to get something. You know, if you can pull that thought out of your mind and you're really helping Venerable Phil because you want to help the guy, because he's a nice guy, then the results just come. You don't have to worry about it. Then you're not lonely, you see. Then now we're upgrading even more. Now you want to be doing your virtue towards a virtuous object. The who are you doing the planting the seeds towards? like the three jewels, for example, or your teacher, or your parents, somebody who's helped you tremendously in this life, your partner, you know, people who have changed you significantly. You see, that becomes a very different kind of seed. Why does helping people who have helped you make it more powerful? You have to think about it. Oh, oops, I just said it. They're actually separate. They're separate ones in the question. I'm sorry. Part 4 is virtuous object. Then part 5 is doing it towards someone who has helped you already. Or doing it towards someone who's just suffering greatly right now. Like someone who's having a difficult time, someone who doesn't have anything else, or doesn't have anyone else to turn to. Okay. So those are ways, just some of the ways to upgrade the seeds, right? Making a habit of thing, upgrading your motivation, taking out a attachment to the result, and who you're planting the seed towards. Who do you choose? Because I'm sorry, there's close to 8 billion people. I think it's 7 something billion people on the planet. Which one do you help? Okay. How do you help you? Right? Who is you? Who are you? Who is the you that's going to take care of all of those people? Do you ever think of that? Oh, I'm going to be totally enlightened. Oh, really? You are going to be enlightened? Yes. Who's the you that gets enlightened? Where's that you coming from? Like, the you that you think is you is not the you that becomes enlightened. So, mm, so Shantideva gives us some advices within the 6 perfections, and he's saying, this one seems pretty obvious. If you have to choose, if you're working within one of the perfections, let's say Tim is challenging translators. Thanks for asking me to speak slower in a very polite way. If you're working with giving, for example, and you have options, who do you give things to? Right? Which one is going to be a more virtuous deed? Who's the more virtuous person? The more powerful object? Yesterday, my mom sent me Easter candy because I'm going to be traveling during Easter, and she sends me. I got some here. She sends me these jelly beans. Okay, these are made in our hometown, right? Best jelly beans in the world. We're biased. Called Sarah's Candies. All right. They just added licorice flavor this year after 30 years. All right. So she sends me these jelly beans. They're delicious. They're the best jelly beans in the world. I promise. I've tried. And so I went to the meeting with Geshe Michael, and I was like, my parents gave this to me. And so I was like, I'm going to give one to him, right? Like, I'm going to give, right? He's the highest object I can think of to give. I know I'm partially being selfish because these are so damn good that I have sugar highs. Like, I'll just put them out and eat them like crack. It's just like, so I gave them away, right? And then, of course, he opened them up, and then everybody in Peachtree got jelly beans, right? So I watched my teacher turn it into a jelly bean festival, right? And everyone was like, these are amazing, right? So I got to give something away and watch the joy spread, right? He walked around the entire cafe, walked around to the entire staff, and like was pouring the, you know, offering them out, right? Watching him have fun, right? And watching him how to give. You see, so when you're giving, who are you giving to and why you're giving and all of those things. So you have to make choices. That's the problem. We have to make choices. What is the biggest bang for your buck, as we say in English? How do you make your dollar go the farthest? Right. Yeah. So if anyone is interested in the best jelly beans in the world, I will send you the link and you can go buy them. There, it's in the chat. I'm sure they will give me some kind of commission for being a sponsored a sponsored ad in ACI. Okay, good luck. I don't know if they do international fundraising or international selling, but anyway. So, and then if you're within the 6 perfections and you're trying to decide which is the best perfection to do, you need to choose the highest one. What's the highest perfection you can practice? 2, 1. Oh my God. You have disappointed me. I thought, oh, thank you, Geshe. The perfection of wisdom. Got one person here. I waited for translators. Right. By the way, Word said to me, he said, it's weird, Tim, how no one turns on the microphone in your classes and just blurts out answers. And I was like, well, yeah, because everyone's being polite. Oh, why are they being polite? Because Tim doesn't want to hear the blurted out answers? No, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 8 languages being spoken on this Zoom call, right? And only some of you speak English. And I think it's really polite that people just don't blurt out and have conversations with me, which is something I like. I love conversations. I love having conversations with people. But not all of us can have conversations without translators. So I think it's really cool. I said, no, they're just being polite to all the other students. I like conversations. So if you want to blurt something out, you can. You can blurt something out in your own language. I don't care. I may not understand it, but yeah, the highest thing you can do, like if you have to choose between the perfections, go to wisdom. Most powerful seed. It's the most powerful seed. Oh, well, Tim, if I'm practicing giving, how do I practice wisdom at the same time? 3 spheres. Okay. Wisdom does it all. Well, actually, compassion does it all too, according to Nagarjuna. So, but if you have to choose between them, choose the highest one. You may not be able to bring up your wisdom, but at least give away your jelly beans. Okay. Share what you have. Give away your jelly beans. That's nice. So in the 6 perfections, do the highest ones. Well, Tim, there's so many things I could be doing. Yes, I know it's overwhelming. That's why all of us bodhisattvas have bodhisattva afflictions, like bodhisattva burnout. That's a t-shirt, Alona. It's called bodhisattva burnout. All the ACI staff is just going to wear bodhisattva burnout. There you go. All right. Good thing we have another class because I'm not going to get done today. So moving into like the perfection of ethics, right? So this is where us bodhisattvas get, we get sort of overwhelmed, or aspiring bodhisattvas. Is like there's all these things we can be doing to helping others. Like the bodhisattva vows are focused on all the things we do for other people, right? And even Shantideva says, just throw yourself in to helping other people. And actually, this is, at your capacity. Always just add the question, add the like, when we say to things, when we add the line, it's coming from you, right? It's coming from its own, it's not coming from its own side. We can also add in, do things at your capacity, right? Throw yourself into helping others at your capacity, right? I always do this. Like when I'm having a crappy day, I'm like, just leave the house, Tim. Just go do something for somebody else. Find an antidote. Go serve somebody else. But make sure you're still having a good meal. Make sure you're sleeping and doing all the things, right? Throwing yourself into serving others means just go help other people and don't get hangry. Okay. Get some sleep. And then you have to do things that keep you from doing bad deeds or being polluted by others that are doing bad deeds. And really what this means is do things in a way when you have other people in mind. And what I mean is don't do things because you have other people in mind. What does that mean? Part of being a bodhisattva is also being a living example. So if people are, watching you, and this is what I got so irritating. This was like 7 years ago, something like that. I had someone who was constantly yelling at me about being a living example. And I was like, they're like, people are watching you, Tim. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything wrong. They're like, they're watching you in your personal life. And I said, I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask, like didn't ask for people to, like get out of my, don't watch me. Like, and he said, it's too late. You have the seeds for it. And I was like, I didn't ask for this, because my personal life was being scrutinized. And I wasn't doing anything ethically wrong. But it could have looked incorrect without certain context. Right? And you don't know what's going on in a bodhisattva's mind. That's why you shouldn't judge bodhisattvas. But it kind of, people will, when you become, when you become a bodhisattva or you start taking care of other people, your behavior becomes more observed because people are like, what's going on? I'm going to say something that I feel a little prideful about, and it made me feel good, but it's important. Somebody said to me last night, somebody recent that I've met, that's kind of a new friend, said, "You're the kindest person I know." And I was like, what the, in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, Willis? What are you talking about? Like, I don't see myself that way. Like, I know what my brain does. I know what my mind does. And then I started thinking about all the things I know about this person and the people that they hang out with and all the things that they do. And I was like, okay, I'll take that. I'll own that. Right. I'll own it. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm like, what I consider kindness and, maybe other people, I don't know. It's a perception thing, but people watch you. The whole point is people watch you. And so don't do things that, don't do it by yourself either, but people are watching. And this is specifically a teaching that was given to ordained people. But don't do things that will not attract people to the Dharma, right? Because if you see me doing something that's inappropriate, you're going to be like, well, that's a contradiction. I'm not perfect. I do bad things. I make mistakes all the time. But part of the motivation in a bodhisattva is like, oh, other people could be watching. So be careful. You don't know who's watching. Like, all those those TikTok videos of people who leave their Zoom camera on by accident and don't know that the Zoom camera's on. They take their Zoom into the bathroom or something, or worse. Just look up on, just go on Google and look up. I don't know. Don't do it. I mean, if you want a good laugh, you can get a good laugh, but right. you know, Imagine the Zoom camera is on all the time. People are watching, not in a creepy way, but people are watching. So do things in a way that inspire people. So one is about attracting people to the Dharma. And then the other one is so people maintain a good opinion about the Dharma. So then you won't do bad things. Right. And this happens all the time, right? Some teacher, some guru gets caught in some weird scandal, right? Because they're not perfect. But everyone thought they were perfect, right? And does something and then destroys an entire organization because everyone goes, well, this is not appropriate. The two big things, finances and sex, right? Don't do them in a way that will cause other people harm. Teachers aren't perfect. And part of it is they do make mistakes. But as a teacher, and you will all become teachers, is you have to be careful with your behavior because it can destroy an organization. It can destroy a lot of things. That's why that's why it's so important. A friend of mine was telling me, they hooked up with a coworker by accident. I'm like, nothing happens by accident. and and they were like, and I was like, they're like, well, and it's like, well, it's not going anywhere. And I'm like, well, why is it not going anywhere? And they said, well, because they're married. And I was like, did you know they were married when you kissed them? Yes. And I was like, don't you think that might be a problem? And they said, well, it's on them. They're the one that's married. I'm not. And I was like, okay, that's a logic. I get it. I understand. But like these things have real consequences. So, that's just an extreme example. But people are watching. Just know that people are watching you. creepy. Your phone is watching you. Think of it that way. All right, here we go. Let's get a little bit less serious here. Here are some advices on this is kind of what I started class with on how to attract people to the Dharma through giving. Like it's one of the things that Geshe Michael is a master at, giving. How to give so that people are like, I want more of this. Right. And like when you see generous people, you're like, and then you kind of wonder why they're giving away so much. Like, how does he have so much to give? How is he so relaxed? You know? And so here are some advices on giving. The first one is how to give food and clothes. And it's like when to give things and not to give. Like when should you give things? I need to look this up because my brain didn't take notes on this. I'm gonna look, it's right here. So when you take food, right, you should always think about, is anyone else needing this food? All right, and Shanti, this is specifically given to ordained people. Think about it and how it applies to your real life. All right, just think about it. He says, when you take food, you should also offer an equal part to those who have fallen wrong, meaning to the animals and tormented spirits and the sick. And you should offer an equal part also to those who have no one to protect themselves. Like people who don't have protection. And then to those who are engaged in asceticism, meaning specifically ordained people. So when you're eating, okay, so you're getting a plate of food, you're at dinner. Do you have to like break it up into like 4 components? Like 25% for me, 25% for the ordained people, 25% for the people who have no one to protect them, and 25% for the tormented spirits and animals. Is that what you're supposed to do? Cut your plate into quarters. I'll let you think about it. Maybe you can make offerings in your mind. Maybe you can think about who else needs food? Who else needs this? And also with eating, like eat what you need. This is another advice. Don't eat too much. Like just eat what's necessary. Like don't overindulge. And then you got to think about why that all is. It's in the reading. You can think about it. So the second thing is you shouldn't hurt your body to achieve minor goals. Okay. Like I said, like you don't need to skydive. You don't need to risk your life ice climbing. You don't need to have drive fast to Rimrock because you're running a little bit late because you weren't paying attention to the time because you were having fun, but you have a meeting with your teacher. Like it's a minor goal to get to Rimrock, but don't risk your life to get to Rimrock, Tim. Slow down, drive slowly, take care of this vessel. And then there's a whole section of when is the proper time to give one's body. And I want to go through this, and then this is where we'll end for today, and I'll finish the rest next week. Mm-hmm. I want to read this first to you guys because I think this is important. This is the commentary. My body is the foundation from which I carry out all the holy dharma. So your body and mind are the foundation for all of that. And if I care for it properly, I can accomplish goals, vast goals for myself and others. So I shouldn't do any kind of harm to it for some kind of minor benefit that might be for someone else. I should shield it in the same way that I would an open wound. Like if you have a cut on your arm, you should protect this. And if you're able to act in this way, you can reach the culmination of the practices of the 3 trainings. And then you're able to quickly fulfill the hopes and dreams of all living beings. So there's all these stories about bodhisattvas that give away their flesh, right? You've all heard about this. Sri Sena like cuts off his legs, right? The bodhisattva that gives his eyeballs, right? All of these things. So first of all, if you don't have the capacity to do it, meaning if you were to cut off your arm or give away your eyeball or something like that, and it says if you would feel distaste for it, or if you would regret it later, it's not the right time to do it. But it's the idea that there is a right time to do it, but the right time to do it, it's frankly, I think it's metaphorical, to be completely honest. Like if you're able to if you have perfected giving so much, you could give away your entire body and still be fine. So if you have no obstacles to perfectional giving, you're freed from stinginess. And when you would accumulate incredible virtuous energy, then anything you give away would bring about the great goals. So we've heard the stories. You can imagine it, but really it's not what we're talking about. Like if you can't give away your jelly beans without feeling a little bit of like, oh my God, I won't have more jelly beans, right? Or you can't give away all the money in your bank account because you're worried about paying your rent, then which you shouldn't do because you have to pay your rent. Don't give away everything just because you heard this teaching. Okay, that's not what it's about. If you have to pay your bills, pay your bills. Guess what? You can be giving your money to your landlord. You can give your money to the electric company. You can give your money to your mortgage. Get it? You can give your money to the barista when you buy your coffee. Change your mind, change your perception. It's not a bill, it's a gift. Your electric bill is a gift. Don't empty your bank account stupidly. Empty your bank account with wisdom. Give your money to the electric company. Give your money to your taxes. Give your money to the barista. Get it? It's not an obligation. It's a gift. That's how you give away your money in your bank account. Okay? To your capacity. And maybe we can plant a world where we don't need money, that we just things just get taken care of. Maybe that's the world you can plan for yourself, and maybe that's how things will start to appear. See. All right, really quick, I'm going to do this one fast and we'll be done. So how do you attract people to the Dharma? Through giving. There's 3 things. Oh, Elena, I did not mean cut. You got to think about it. I did not mean on your plate of food, dividing it into 4 and only eating a quarter. You can think about offering. You can leave a little bit of food. Okay, well, Victoria. Okay, someone said it. Got it. Okay. Thank you. Well, thanks for translating. No. Again, don't take it literally. Don't fill up your plate from the buffet and then do quarters and only eat a quarter of it and leave the other 3 quarters to people you're not giving it to. Where are the ordained Sangha? Where are the hungry ghosts? And where are the people that don't have any food to eat? You see? Okay. The idea of it is, first, understand where food is coming from. Where does food come from? It comes from your generosity. Okay. If you want, I have a really cool karma. I have this really cool karma of just showing up in places right when food's being served. I just show up and it's like, oh, we're having dinner, or oh, there's pizza arriving, or oh, like they're like, Tim, why do you always just show up when the food's arriving? I'm like, I don't know. I don't plan it. I don't like be like, well, I don't have a secret spy telling me this is when the food's showing up at someone random person's place, right? It just happens, right? That's how karma works, right? So why do you think about giving away the food that's on your plate? Because you want more food, right? So leave a little bit of it afterwards, and you can do a little prayer, akaro. I'll put that in the chat. All right. Little mantra you can say, akaro. All right. Put a little food to the side, offer it and say akaro. You're offering it off to all the beings who cannot find food, and you're transforming it into something they can find. And you're inviting them all to come to eat and partake of the feast that you just enjoy. Can't wait till we get to the diamond. You guys are gonna love it. I'm gonna leave it there for today. Cool. So next week we have the review class. There's a little bit more content to go in this class, very short. And then we may have a Q&A, or I'll probably come up with something else to talk about. We'll see. We'll do a review next week of the first part of the Bodhisattva's way of life. And the rest of the year, we're going to be doing the whole class. The second and third class this year will all be on the rest of this book. It's going to be a lot of fun. So come next week, we'll finish up. Maybe we'll come with some questions. I will attempt to have Q&A. I will shut up. I will shut my face hole and listen to you guys and see what you need. All right. Okay, take a half-hour break if you're coming back to Lam Rim. If you've just joined us for this class, thank you for coming. It's always a pleasure to have you all here. And yeah, let's say goodbye. This is when you can blurt out. Turn on your microphones.
Thank you.
Gracias, Tim.
谢谢老师，拜拜。
Thank you so
谢
much.
谢老师，谢谢翻译老师。
Sure.
谢谢翻译老师。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢. 谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。谢谢。 谢谢。 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 Thank you. Please stay.
Ciao, Tim. Please
Gracias
stay.
por enseñarnos, Tim. Por favor, quédate.
Thank you, team.
Grazie mille. Buona giornata a tutti quanti. Ciao.
Ciao.
Благодарю, дорогой Тим.
All right. I'll be back in half an hour.
Thank you so much.